Commissioner Andrade,
Present.
Commissioner Sales, Commissioner Taylor,
Present.
Commissioner Vaughn,
Here.
Commissioner Woods Drake,
Present.
Vice Chair Dominguez,
Present.
Chair Morton. Let the record show all members of the commission are present.
Off the record right now, unless anybody, nope. Any oral communications?
Yes, we have one speaker,
Excellent.
Lambert Ling.
Hello. Good afternoon, Chair Morton, fellow commissioners. My name is Lambert Ling. I'm addressing you today as a private citizen of the city of Encinitas. So I have to admit, at first I was thinking I would just keep it brief. I would just welcome you as a new commission, wish you luck, remind you that whatever things you set out to do, you need to consider the needs of the growing senior community in Encinitas. But I've got 3 minutes. And maybe it's worth another couple of minutes of my time and yours to provide a little more context and some advice. My voice and my experience come from being part of a family dedicated to community service. I volunteer at our community and senior center. I serve as a commissioner on the Senior Citizen Commission. Like the rest of my family, I do these things in order to make a difference. And I'm sure that's why each of you are here. My advice to you comes in 3 parts. Maybe you already know this, and if you do, I appreciate your time to allow me to speak. First, work with each other. You can do more by working together and with a common voice. You may each have your own agenda on what you'd like to accomplish, but find that common ground and take advantage of strength in numbers. Second, be persistent and patient. The greatest frustration as a commissioner is that things often do not happen as easily or as quickly as you'd like. You have an entire term to get things done. Use that time wisely and don't give up. Finally, look to the future. It is so easy to react to things and make plans for the moment. And yes, our work plans are for the current fiscal year, but your terms as commissioners are 3 and 4 years long. What legacies do you want to leave at the end of those terms? How will you make things better than they are today? Keep this in mind in every meeting and with each and every work plan you make. Time will get away from you faster than you think. And, oh yeah, don't forget about the senior community. We've lived here most of our lives, and we are your future. And I don't say that in a good way. We are your future homeless, financially insecure, socially isolated, physical and mental health challenged. And just a reminder, if we aren't already there, we will all be seniors eventually and may have to face one or more of these challenges of growing old in Encinitas. So let's make a difference. Let's make things better than they are now. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Are we aware of any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes.
Excellent. I am aware, I think we have 2 minutes to approve. We'll start with the oldest one. Should be our last meeting, which was formal meeting. Is it on our list? We're having some trouble finding it, Lois. Is it under the?
It should be under item 7, approval of minutes.
Yeah, I see the attachment, but I'm getting. Thank you so much. Excellent.
I reviewed them
So
and
let's start
would
with-
move approval if there's no changes.
Motion,
I second.
let's move to vote on the March.
My motion was for both.
Excellent.
My second was for both.
Excellent. We have to vote. Oops. There we go.
Let the record show that the motion passes unanimously.
Excellent. Next, we'll move on to the public safety reports. We'll do the sheriff department first. Lieutenant.
Good afternoon, Commission. My name is Z. Sanchez. I'm a lieutenant at the North Coastal Sheriff Station. I am covering this meeting for Captain Watts, who's currently on vacation, so I'm the acting captain. I'd been assigned to the patrol station since just April this year until now. I was asked to just give an update on some focal points for the summer. We had our analysts put together some recent crime statistics and some just details on trends. First of all, if you can go to the next slide, please. We'll just start with our NIBRS crime statistics, which is tracked by the FBI. Just overall, crimes against persons and property are about the same. Coincidentally, as of the 15th, there were 710 incidents compared to 710 incidents at the same time last year. We have seen a rise in crimes against persons. This has to do with batteries and fights types of calls. We did unfortunately have one homicide last month. That was a matter that involved the suspect and the victim were both family members. So, an isolated incident for sure, but definitely concerning. So, the uptick in the crimes against persons, they have been assaults. And then our crimes against property, we've seen a 10% decrease in those types of crimes. Next slide, please. So some of our focal points, obviously, traffic and e-bike safety is a huge focal point for the Sheriff's Department with so many more e-bikes and young riders out there is something we're focusing on. The department as a whole has focused on putting together a program for e-bike safety. Also a program where we're looking at perhaps, I know there's legislation for licensing requirements for people to ride e-bikes and that type of thing. Also, citing minors with giving them the option to attend some safety classes before it becomes, any type of violation on the record. But really, it encourages bicycle, e-bike safety over, punishing everyone or anyone. Also getting the parents involved and taking responsibility over their children being on the roadways. I know driving around the area, all these coastal areas, I see kids and I'm just so worried for them. They have helmets on, but they're not strapped down. And if a bicycle's on the roadway, it should apply all the vehicle code rules apply to them, but they often don't follow them. So we've directed our traffic deputies to do some enforcement on e-bikes and regular bicycles as well as vehicles and at their discretion, whether a citation or just letting them know that, reminding them what the laws are. We've seen 37 traffic collisions since May, and 6 of those involved cyclists, and 2 of those were e-bikes. Next slide, please. The DUI safety is always a focal point for the North Coastal Station. We do have a large traffic unit who's very proactive. We're going to be having a DUI checkpoint later this month. But we had 19 DUI incidents since May. 7 of those resulted in collisions, and some resulted in citizens calling in people drinking or driving erratically, and 4 were proactive contacts by deputies. We've noticed another trend that we're focusing on is the assaults that we've noticed increase in had to do with downtown establishments. One of our focal points through our community-oriented and policing unit is to do some details at bars. That would include some plainclothes details with alcohol beverage control, where we go in to make sure that these drinking establishments aren't serving people. We're also going to do the ordinance for smoking and do those types of enforcements that focus on the downtown area, as well as just visual patrols, deputies on foot patrol, and we have e-bikes. The deputies drive right around that downtown corridor, just more of a presence, just make sure that these people who are visiting Encinitas, who live here, who spend time in the downtown area, feel safe to have a good law enforcement presence available. We also are going to be focusing on the new ordinance that was passed regarding the shopping cart, the shopping cart ordinance. We're working with citing people who are in possession of shopping carts that they shouldn't be, and taking those shopping carts and having the retailers responsible for retrieving their shopping carts as well. Outreach to our businesses, having more of a downtown presence and just communicating with our business owners. We've had some incidents where there have been some burglaries in the downtown area, and just we have a crime prevention unit offering to do safe or consultations for we had some businesses that were burglarized who actually had cameras, but they haven't been working for a while. Just reminding them of different types of safety measures they could take to help us so they don't get burglarized. And obviously, the homeless is an issue as well. We continue, I think one more slide, and I think we're pretty much it, right. So the homeless issue obviously is a big issue that we're focusing on, and that goes with our community-oriented problem-solving policing unit. We're looking at possibly adding 2 more positions for the city to help deal with the actual homeless, part of that, the HOPE team, the homeless outreach team. We're working with a number of service providers, and there are a couple of individuals who are known to us and people in the city that we've been working on getting them, with their family members, getting them the help they need. Some have some medical issues. I know Glen Park is a big focal point for us, and some individuals frequent there, so that's another focal point for us. Do any of you have any questions? Yes, Mr. Taylor?
Hey, first off, thank you for the report. I appreciate the information. I have 2 questions. One, how are the DUI and alcohol-related incidents comparing to last year? So the bar fights, people getting face punched, and the DUIs. What's that looking like in comparison to last year? If you happen to have that accessible, great.
You know, I unfortunately, I don't have that accessible with me. And I've only been at the station for a couple of months now. But I know what the statistics overall, we have seen a bit of an uptick, from last year with the assaults. I'm not sure when you meet again, but I could have that information for you the next time we get together for sure. You let me know what your kind of information you're looking for, and I'll come prepared for that.
All right, sounds good. And my last question was, you touched on, I guess, what kind of things is the Sheriff's Department doing to community, or what are the ways that you all are communicating with local business owners and the shops along the 101 with regards to safety measures that they can take, with regards to alcohol serving and things of that nature?
So we have a crime prevention unit. We have two people dedicated to that who work with the business owners downtown. So like I mentioned earlier, we offer a safety assessment and consultation. So we'll go in and assess what kind of measures that they may not have in place to help prevent a burglary, or maybe through crime prevention by environmental design. If somebody has like maybe an ATM machine near a window, probably move it towards the back.
Yeah.
Or some businesses don't leave the vaults open. They can leave it open to show that, hey, this machine's empty, that type of thing. Also, just our deputies, I encourage our deputies to go out there and get to know the business owners, the people who work in the city, and introduce themselves. I know we have a number of deputies who like to get out there. I mean, what a great place to work, right, up here. And to be cooped up in a patrol car all day, you can just get out there and just get to know the community. So I like to do that myself. And I know our deputies do as well.
Awesome. I told a little bit of a white lie. I do have one more question.
Sure.
Is there anything that you need for us to hear, or is there anything that we can do for you?
You know, look, I think we get a lot of support from everyone in this community. I see a lot of the issues that people deal with. I've noticed a lot more maybe homeless and people kind of acting erratically, and it's an approach that takes the entire community, right? Our deputies are trained in dealing with people with mental illness more so than years past, and that's a wonderful thing. We have a psychiatric emergency response team, one clinician that's on duty with us, and then we're getting a second one as
cool.
well to help deal with those issues. We are, law enforcement isn't always the long-term response for that, but when people are under a psychosis or they're an episode, I guess we'll call it, where obviously their behavior is dangerous to public safety. We come in, but we have those resources to then pass them on to a longer-term solution. So we work with the community. I think that's a big focal point, and I know it's a huge concern for the community because I hear it from them.
Yeah.
Traffic as well. We get a lot of outreach from the community regarding traffic. We actually I just sent our city manager an email today on a traffic trailer that is going to track all the speeds on certain streets and records them, and we'll be able to download this information and see, hey, what is the average speed on this road to confirm that there is a traffic problem, so then we can pass it on to the correct entity to see if we need to lower the speed limit or redesign that roadway to make it more safe. So we're always listening. I think it's a partnership with the community, and that's what we want to focus on.
Cool. Thank you, Lieutenant.
Thank you.
Next, we have Vice Chair Dominguez.
Good afternoon, Lieutenant. I noticed if you could go back to the one screen that was the DUI safety, and you said 19 incidents since May. So that's like just this month then?
Well, since the beginning of May.
Since the beginning of May?
Through the 15th of this month.
Okay. And there were 4 proactive, are those arrests?
Correct.
Okay. And how many people do you have out there actually doing DUI enforcement? And you have to get, I guess, how many people do you have there at night, like running these DUI cars?
We have anywhere between 2 and 3 DUI cars. We have a total of about 15 deputies dedicated to our motors and traffic at the station. So the hours shift, but it's a pretty good amount of deputies out there enforcing traffic laws.
Okay. And do you expect those numbers to go up? We have the summer coming, and I'm thinking that, we're going to be faced with some of those issues.
Right. I mean, so, we're a beach city, right? The population here swells during the summer, as we know, and with that comes some drinking. So unfortunately, I would expect that to go up, but it's going to go up also because of more proactive enforcement. I want to see these crashes prevented. So I think, if we see a positive inverse relationship, if we have more DUI arrests but less collisions, I think we're going in the right path.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's important. And these ABC details, do you have any of them planned yet for the summer?
That I could tell you from the top of my head, I haven't heard of any come across my desk, but we work in partnership with Alcohol Beverage Control, and we have a liaison department who's coordinating with that. So I know we had at least 2 in the last 2 months. We had 2 details. I know that they were out there. The future ones, I know there's some, especially for the summer, planned. I would have to look into when the next ones are scheduled, but I know we're going to be doing a lot more. We work very closely with ABC on those details.
Okay, and also that same question for the DUI checkpoints. Like, how many of those do you have planned for the summer?
We had one that we did, I believe we did one in May, and we have one next week, I think it's on the 28th that we're doing it. So towards the end of the month, we have another one. And I'll have to check with Sergeant Collis as our traffic sergeant. I believe we'll probably have at least one more before the summer's done.
Okay. I was wondering, like, maybe next time, you might be able to, like, give us a better idea as to how many ABC details will be coming up. We don't have to know dates, or checkpoints will be coming up during the summer. And then I'm really interested in the number of proactive DUI arrests, because, we know that, that's an issue here. And so, I think that would be a great, at least to give the commission an idea, how well you're doing in that area. And
No, absolutely. That's
so
something.
I appreciate it. Thanks, LT. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sales.
Hi, thank you. I have 3 questions. First one is, has the opening of the dispensary, the Cake House on 101, been any problems? Has there been any evidence that adults are buying pot from the dispensary and giving them to kids?
Surprisingly, I haven't seen that the dispensary has been a problem. We haven't had too many calls for service related to issues with the dispensary itself. And as far as calls with adults buying marijuana for children, neither. But I think it'd be a great idea to do a detail, like a decoy detail, to see if that's occurring. We could team up with our partners for a detail on, similar to the shoulder tap operations we do with ABC. But so far, not really.
Well, that's good news. Are any of the DUIs that you referenced, were they driving under the influence of drugs, or was it all alcohol?
Yes, last week we had one that was driving under the influence of drugs. So there are a few that do come across. The majority are going to be alcohol, but there are some that are DUI drugs.
Okay, great. Okay, so my second question is, you said that the deputies have more training in dealing with behavioral health issues. How many, because I know that traditionally there hasn't been a lot of training, but you said that's improved. So how much training are deputies getting? Is it voluntary or is it mandatory?
Oh, it's mandatory. So our deputies, especially the ones who are assigned to work with PERT clinicians, psychiatric emergency response team, they attend an 8-hour class, I believe it is. I mean, don't quote me. I went to one a long time ago. I think it was 8 hours from when I remember, on how to deal with people with different mental issues they're dealing with. I'd have to look up what the current training is, but I know they're getting I didn't really get much of that in the academy, but that's something they're talking about in the academy as well as our ongoing training that we have to do 24 hours of training every year, mandated by POST, our certification entity here in California, on dealing with people with mental issues. But it's definitely improving. Along with that, the de-escalation training that we're getting has a lot to do with recognizing whether we're dealing with someone who has some kind of mental issue rather than drugs or just not being a pleasant person, right?
Okay, so with SB 43 being implemented in January, so have you had any training? Because that's going to involve people who have severe substance use disorder and possibly a co-occurring behavioral health disorder. Have you had any training yet on that?
I myself, I have not, but I know that our training in-service training unit is working on a curriculum for that. I don't know where they are, but I could check for you.
Yeah, I'd like to know that. And my last question is, I'm assuming it's illegal for kids or adult, to be using their cell phones while they're riding e-bikes. I happen to live on a street where there's lots of e-bike riders because SDA and Oak Crest and Oceanol all come down my street. And I see a lot of kids on their phones while they're riding their bikes, not looking. You know, it's really scary watching them. And I'm an e-bike rider, so I'm very alert to what's going on, but that's frightening. Would they be given a citation if they were?
Yes, I mean, they could definitely be given a citation. I think, I spoke earlier about the program we're working on with especially juveniles, giving them that option. If they get a citation, it can be expunged. If they go to an e-bike safety course, that would cover that. I think a lot of, especially being so young, they really just don't realize all the laws, right? I mean, it's essentially a motor vehicle. It's out there sharing the road with vehicles. So yes, for adults, yeah, I've talked to my deputies just this last week and directed our traffic sergeant Collis to have his motors units and traffic deputies cite people for riding bikes in violation of the law, which would include cell phone use.
Commissioner Andrade.
I just wanted to know, as far as resource readiness, especially since you've come into this community, what are like the 3 things that you guys are seeing that are kind of holes for us, or where we can improve as far as resource readiness goes? That could be new deputies, recruitment, that could be apparatus types, that could be, plans for major emergencies like earthquakes, where are you seeing holes?
Well, I know that we want to bring on 2 more deputies for the homeless outreach, and I think with the deputies we have, I mean, we could always use more deputies, right? I see that downtown corridor at certain hours, and if deputies are tied up at one side of the city, they're not getting that high visibility in that downtown corridor, like, especially summers here, right? People are coming from all over to spend time at our beaches, to shop at our businesses. As far as like the readiness for major incidents, being the sheriff's department, luckily we're a large organization, has a lot of resources available. So if a major incident were to occur, whether a natural disaster or a demonstration that got out of control, we fortunately have the personnel and resources to draw on from other neighboring areas. That's actually a tough question for me. Man, that's actually a good thing, because I think the city's just so proactive about really supporting us and providing, the things we need to address most of the issues we have. I would like to see more our crime prevention out there more, engaging the businesses. We have a lot of businesses here, but we do have a number of like coffee and communities. We were just at Dick's Sporting Goods last week, and then I think the week before that we were at Target and talking to the different business owners. But I think that if we had another deputy that could actually liaison with those businesses, I hate to see the burglaries that occur where people are stealing items just randomly. We had a pretty nasty incident over the weekend where an individual stole an item from the Home Depot, and an innocent bystander got involved, and unfortunately that individual was harmed by this person. So I think a greater deputy presence would be great. We do have, I was asked this question earlier by Vice Chair Dominguez, whether I felt that we have enough deputies out there. I believe we do, but I would like to get into more of like preventative type of situations where we can augment our community-oriented policing to concentrate more on those local businesses that are experiencing the shoplifting.
Thank you. We are not exhausting, but we are running through the paces, so I'll call on Vice Chair Dominguez with that in mind.
Yeah, and this will be a quick one. It goes along with what you were talking about, staffing, and are all your allotted positions filled? So understanding that, let's say we have 50 deputies at the station that are assigned to the city of Encinitas. Are all 50 positions filled, excluding those that are like on, extended sick leave, or those, like, is the sheriff's department supporting you with the staffing that you need and that the city has contracted for?
So looking at our operational vacancies, outside of, deputies who might be on temporary light duty because they got injured, we are doing pretty good. There are maybe like 1 or 2 vacancies that we do have that we're waiting to get filled. We have 4 deputies who just got off phase training this last week, and we have 4 deputies who just started phase training, and that's about a 4-month process. So we're actually looking pretty good, but there is always movement. There are deputies who move on to specialized assignments. They might make detective, and that creates a new vacancy. And then we're like right now, I'm interviewing for a community-oriented policing sergeant because our sergeant went to a specialized position. But that position will be filled in the next couple of weeks. So there's always that flow.
Sure.
We're doing pretty good. There are some vacancies, but nothing alarming.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Just one final comment for myself, or question, part of the services that I have are the ad hoc for homeless. So I really would like if you could give a description or the timeline for and what changes you expect if you do get the 2 deputies, like when they would be effective. And then I would also just ask, in future presentations, we have the Buena Vista Transit Center, and if you have any metrics around how you're identifying or working with the city to move the homeless people through and to that resource that we have now, that would be very effective and helpful for me.
So yes, our deputies are currently working with the Buena Vista Transit Center in giving the homeless that we deal with who are willing to accept those resources. And I know that they've worked with certain individuals a number of times, and first of all, it takes that deputy, that individual with the right personality for that type of job. But when we do have that deputy with the right personality in place, they take to that job really well. And I know Deputy Wells and Bennett are the 2 main deputies we have in the COPS unit who are really working with our homeless and have had a lot of success in getting people to that transit center. I understand we have a few beds, but we'd like to see if we could get more to get those filled. Unfortunately, we do tend to fill them, and people are there for a certain amount of time, and they may need to be there in time to, get off on whatever substance they might be on, and they're thinking more clearly, thinking about their longer-term success in life and taking those resources they normally would probably turn down because they're high or under the influence of something. And I'm sorry, the first part of your question?
You said you're looking to staff 2 new deputies. What's the time frame to getting up to speed, and what do you think the impact's going to be to having them available?
So I know that we have been having, we just had 2 positions filled for our transit enforcement unit, and we are now requesting the positions for those COPS units to be filled. We need to hear back from personnel on what that's looking like. I know we just graduated an academy and another one started. So that, I would be guessing really, but it could be possibly a couple of months, I would guess. But, the team we have now, we have everybody fully staffed, and that is part of their duties, but we'd like a unit that is really their primary duty, because I think it's something that would really serve the city and the citizens here well.
Yeah, so I think like a metric along the lines of intervention with the homeless, number of people referenced to the transit center, number of people that actually went to the if we could just keep a hold of that. And it sounds like getting the 2 deputies on board, you may not be able to sort of identify the magnitude of their impact at this time. It's just we can assume if there's more people, we're going to be more proactive and more helpful for the homeless community. Would that
Absolutely.
be fair? That'd be fair? All right.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Again, we are running time, so go ahead, Commissioner Vaughn.
Yeah, this is pretty quick. It follows up on two of the other commissioners' interest. I'm personally aware of several instances where some of our homeless neighbors have been arrested for assault on an officer, resisting arrest charges. All of them have serious mental illnesses that I'm aware of. And I would just encourage the department to think about using 5150s more liberally in those cases. Obviously, if the person is a threat to a police officer, they're a threat to another.
Thank you for the comment. I don't think there was a question in there. All right. With that said, we'll move on to report from the fire department.
Good evening. My name is Jorge Sanchez. I'm the Deputy Fire Chief standing in this evening for Chief Gordon.
Welcome.
I'm going to be presenting on some slides here that he prepared for me on some statistics responses from January to May of 2024. Oh, can you guys hear me okay? All right, thank you. So the Encinitas Fire Department responses, year to date, and that is May 2024 from January 1st, we have a total of 3,776 responses, actually incidences, excuse me. Anywhere from aids, which include walk-in medical aids, to lift assists, lockouts out of vehicles, any kind of irrigation problems, any kind of public assist. We have alarms, which include any actual fire alarm or false alarms. And then we actually have 303 fire incidences. It could be anywhere from food on the stove, and you get a full alarm response, to trash can fires, vehicle fires, structure fires, which we've had. And a total of 3,114 medical aids, which is the majority of our responses, as you see. We have 37 incidences that are categorized as other. Those are the some of the walk-in medical aids. Excuse me, I said walk-in medical aids for the aid, but that was incorrect. It's for the others that are categorized in there. We also have, in the others section, some responses to City of San Diego. As we border some of the Del Mar is considered San Diego City, we have responded to that jurisdiction. And then a total of 44 incidences year to date for any type of rescue response, vehicle rescue, cliff rescues. That's what we have year to date. All right, next slide. All right, I have some turnout times to report. Turnout times that I have here is the time that we get the call at the fire station to when the crew makes their way to the fire apparatus and hits responding and starts the call. So as you see, the daytime calls they're averaging there about 49 to 50 seconds. It's because we're pretty much ready to go. We're in station, in uniform, and we can access the fire engine a little quicker than, as you see, the nighttime calls. They tend to run a little bit higher, about 1 minute, 20 seconds. At this time, companies have to put on their uniforms, make their way out. So there's a little bit of a delay there. But that's the comparison since 2021 to current. The trend seems to be consistent. There's no upward or negative trends. Sometimes you'll see different trends which might draw concerns. Either people are not hitting the response or slowing down, but that doesn't seem to be the case at this time. It seems pretty consistent across the board. Further, we have total response times there. That's when the call processing time comes in through dispatch. We get dispatched at our fire station, we hit the respond button, and then finally we get to our location and we hit the on-scene button. There is a difference there, daytime, nighttime calls. As you can see, daytime is the orange line. Nighttime calls looks like it's a brown line or a darker line there. It seems pretty consistent as well. There's been some slight peaks there in 2023, but it seems to have settled down further on down the line. So no real concerns there, but all within the required time. Our 90th percentile seems to be at 7 minutes, 41 seconds. And this information was pulled from Fire Stats and some other from Tableau, which are similar to statistics. Next. There was, I believe there was a request for some Patrol 236 alarms and data questions. So I was provided this by Chief Gordon, and this is data since 2017 and again current till April 30th of this year of Patrol 236, which is housed at our Fire Station 6. And these incidents here, as you can see, there's a total of 2,966 incidents. Primarily, they're going to be in the Olevenheim area, but there is some spillage of that unit that responds to the Village Park area of Encinitas and also down Manchester, heading towards our Station 2 in Cardiff. But primarily, their responses are going to be heavily located along the Rancho Santa Fe Road, Lone Jack, and into Olevenheim. And to the left, we have an array of incident types that this unit responds to. It's pretty straightforward: alarms, structure, wildland fires, vehicle fires, some illegal burning, strike team deployments throughout the state and neighboring counties. We do have propane leaks inside the structure, outside the structure, and then your medical aids, hazmat responses of rescue incidents, and some traffic collisions. Next. And I'm going to be providing some lifeguard statistics here, but these are the year-to-date statistics provided to us by lifeguards. Enforcement, 1,623 incidents to date. These kind of enforcements are pretty much, obviously all related on the beach, but dogs on the beach where they shouldn't be, drinking where it shouldn't be allowed, any type of smoking, or any type of incident that lifeguards have to enforce. We also have prevents and safety contacts. This is pretty much a notification contact that lifeguards provide before you get into the water. Whether there's no swimming allowed here, there's no surfing allowed there, or stay away from this part of the beach because there's rip currents. It's an informational notification to beachgoers. We have minor medical aids, and then down low below we have major medical aids. While I'm on the medical aids, I'll just give you a quick breakdown on those. Minor medical aids is where there's no BLS, basic life support, or no ALS, advanced life support, indications needed. It could be a little scrape, here's a Band-Aid. They did actually categorize, to my surprise, stingrays in that section, but go figure. I'd be calling for ALS for myself. I know those hurt. Major medical aids, that's when the decision point is made where they have to call 911 for either a BLS or an ALS type of incident, and that's where we're brought into the picture with our rescue ambulances and fire department. Further, we have rescues. Obviously, that's any kind of rescue on the ocean. And then missing persons, pretty straightforward. We've had 7 year to date. Next. And that is the end of my slides. I'd be happy to answer any questions to the best of my ability.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Taylor?
Good evening, Mr. Sanchez. Thanks for the information, a lot of great information. So I started doing fun with numbers, and I saw that based on all the incidents that you all deal with, that comes out to a rough average of about 20 to 30 per day. Based on that, what kind of impact has that had on the department? Is it, too much, too little, or I guess too little is probably a good thing. But is it overwhelming? Is it,
Right.
Tell me about that.
Let me see here. So I wouldn't, 20, when we have 6 stations, so, 20, it could be 3 to 4 calls per station divided equally. That's not always the case. We always have a busier station than others. Station 1, downtown Encinitas, seems to be pretty busy during this time of season with all the beachgoers, all the patrons in downtown. Station 2 in Cardiff, they can be pretty busy because they have a lot of nursing homes in that area. They have the I-5 freeway, and they're very easily pulled into San Diego, Solana Beach, Del Mar.
Okay.
So to answer your question, I don't think that number is a huge stressor. However, that can all change. We do have sometimes peculiar situations where we have people on vacation. We have people that are sick, people on workers' comp. We will have engines deployed during wildland fire season up north, anywhere north of here, Riverside County, Ventura County, all the way up north, or we might have a team of 4 individuals assigned to an incident. So they're there a minimum of 14 days, typically 16 when you count travel days. So needless to say, all that does have an impact on the stress, the force hires, the injuries, because all that causes stress, and you're overworked at times. So those do play a role, but when none of those factors are involved, I'm not saying they are right now. We have a lot of fires going on in the north at this time. We could be sending out resources any day, any second. We do have individuals that are not on our roster right now because they're out on injury, but they're cumulative, and I would say there's an indirect effect, or direct.
Yeah.
But I guess I think you understand what I'm saying.
Perfect.
But the call volume, it's not a heavy load to say. There's some agencies, LA County, San Diego City, they're running one station, 25 calls a day, 30 calls a day.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Commissioner Andrade?
Yeah, I thank you so much for that report. I noticed the get out times for the Code 3 responses were specifically for fire. Can we get that for medical aids as well?
Yes, absolutely. So next reporting period, we will get medical aid response times for you.
That'd be wonderful. Or just anything besides fire, like traffic collisions, whatever the others are. I would just like to see how that compares to the fire as well.
Okay, let me see here.
The other thing I was going to say, do you have anybody out on the post fire now? Do you guys generally have overhead folks that have like overhead assignments on any type of teams that go out regularly? And do you have anybody out right now?
Yes. So currently, we do not have anyone out. But yes, typically we do send out. We have on overhead assignment. We have a strike team leaders that take a like volume, or not like volume, but like units to incidences, and they're considered strike team leaders. We have that individual, and we also have division group supervisors that run divisions. We have safety officers that get assigned as safety officers. Those are considered overheads, and they're one person resource. Further, we do have individuals that are field observations. They're called FOBs. They go and they track the perimeter of the fire. We have people that are assigned to a resource unit of the team, of incident management team. And further, we have fire line paramedics that also respond to these fires. So we have not only do we have an apparatus and a crew and a strike team chief, but we have overhead individuals that also volunteer and participate in the time of need.
Okay, but currently with the fires going on right now, you guys don't have anybody out?
Currently, we do not have that. It has not made it down through dispatch and the request to us, so no.
Okay. And then also too, kind of the same question that we asked the lieutenant deputy, what do you think that as far as needs for that your fire department, and I like to ask different people, so that's one of the reasons why I'm asking, because Chief Gordon isn't here, because we have asked him the same thing. But as a commission, like how we can support you best as far as like where are the holes that you see as far as whether it's resource readiness, whether it's vacancies in staffing, what do you see that we can, or that your holes are, what you need from us, and or that would help you all improve your mission as far as serving the public, both medical, fire, all hazard.
Right. Okay. Well, we're pretty grateful for the strong organization that we currently have and what has been provided for us. However, we do have visions of where we would like to see our organization and leave it in better hands for the future generations of firefighter and for the safety of our community. That's why we're here, and that's why we ultimately make the requests and decisions for that. We'll talk about staffing, if you will. So there's a few staffing measures that models or simulations that we would love to see in the future. Is possibly an increase in staffing in fire administration, whether that's an additional deputy fire chief or 2 division chiefs, something that would help us accomplish more in the administrative role and divvy up some of the responsibilities that I have, operations, but also I have support, I have administrative responsibilities that I have to do. A lot of our battalion chiefs, they've been tasked with facilities, apparatus, EMS, and having other chief officers, regardless of their title, helping out in the administrative role. It would allow our battalion chiefs to have more interaction with their battalions and be there training with them, station visits, building the rapport, the morale, everything you need to be an involved leader. And there's times when they're busy all day long doing some administrative work that we're doing, working on presentations, working on the health and wellness program. But there's also sometimes a gap there. You know, I'm an advocate for enjoying your time off. You need it. And our shift battalion chiefs do that. But sometimes some of the challenges is I'm here Monday through Friday, and if we had more Monday through Friday administration, we keep pushing things along every single day and see a quicker outcome on some of the projects or things that we need to do. It's hard catching up sometimes when shift members are coming back or they take additional days off and they're doing good work. I'm not saying that they're not, but it just takes a longer completion period for some of the things that they do. And I'd rather see them fully engaging with their battalion on training and being that type of leadership. Of course, not taking all their responsibilities, but definitely putting some on the administrative side of things. So that's, you know, I know that our fire prevention, their bandwidth is pretty maxed out, so they could use some help as well. So that's another area where we would like to see that. So I'm talking all about personnel right now. It would be nice someday, respectfully, to see perhaps a 4th person on our truck company. A lot of truck companies throughout the state, here in San Diego as well, they run with 4-person truck companies. The truck is a special piece of equipment. It's kind of like the special forces of your fire department. They have the ladder, they do rescue, search and rescue, operate a lot of technical equipment, and having that 4th person really makes the operations a lot safer on that truck company. So that would be something that we would like to see come to fruition in the future. Alongside with that, that goes hand in hand with potentially a future Fire Station 6 for Olivenhain. We have 2 people on that patrol unit, a captain and a firefighter. Well, that's another position that we would like to see eventually with a proper Station 6, a proper Type 1 fire engine cross-staffed with a proper brush rig out in the community of Olivenhain. But proper, you need 3 people at least to help run an efficient company, not 2 people. We're making do with what we have right now. We're proud to serve the community with what we have. That's what we do. But that's the other part there in personnel.
I'm gonna thank you for your response right there. Just in the interest of time, we got a long of people, and you gave us a really nice top level of what could use for our ad hoc commission. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
We'll move on to Commissioner Vaughn.
Well, you started to talk about Olivenhain and Station 6, and my question was really, this commission had put forward a letter to City Council requesting the ISO standard engine up in Station 6. And I've seen in some recent City Council agenda items some land negotiations that Chief Gordon is engaged in with Lone Jack properties. So I was wondering if you could give any positive vibes back to the commission of response to our letter.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Vaughn, I missed that last little piece you said.
Oh, so we'd made the letter requesting the ISO standard engine up in Station 6 as soon as possible. And so the question was just, is there any positive feedback that you can give back to the commission that yes, that was a useful letter and progress is happening or something?
Commissioner Vaughn, can I ask you to ask that question again during the work plan? Because we submitted the letter as it was supporting the work plan, just to continue the conversation during the work plan item.
Did you have another question besides that, Doc? Okay. Commissioner Woods-Drake?
Yes, thank you for your presentation. I have some questions in regard to Station 6 and some of the stats there as well. Do you mind going to page 4 again? Okay, so an earlier page, I believe it said current incidence for the year has been 3,776, and it looks like, is Patrol 236, Station 6, like basically out of there? Is that what it's referring to? And so obviously, if there's been 3,776 in one station, this is saying they've done 114 calls of those. Is that correct?
So those calls were from January 1st to current for all 6 stations in Encinitas.
Okay.
And this here is the accumulation over since 2017.
But the last column where it says 2024, is that saying that 114 total incidents have come from Station 6?
I'm sorry, that is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So my question is, because this is, a conversation we've been having as a commission, it's also things we hear from the community about Olivenhain. I'm curious as to why that is so much lower. Are they unable to go on medical? If I divide 3,776 by 6 stations, it's closer to 600 per station. And so I understand that there's not the needed apparatus there, there's less staff there, and so I'm just wondering what the reason is for there's about 1/6 of the calls being had there, and would a new station with the correct apparatus and proper staffing help alleviate what's happening across of all of Encinitas to better spread out the calls? It's just a staggering difference of 114 calls coming out of one station versus probably 700 or 800 coming out of the others.
Right. So let me try to explain this as best to my ability. But so for one, this is just January, February, March, April, 4 months of data for that unit. And yes, typically that unit has a restriction on its capabilities because we have 2 people on it. So it's not going to be responding to automatic aid with Rancho Santa Fe, Carlsbad, as some of these other units respond to San Diego, Solana Beach, Carlsbad. So there's going to be a difference in the call volume that it's going to generate. And that's going to be one of the key factors. But in addition to that, the location where it's at currently, it does draw a lower call volume in that geographical area of Encinitas. If it was closer to downtown, I'm sure it would increase in its call volume. Keep in mind that it does have some restriction capabilities because of the type of unit it is and the staffing model that we have on it currently.
Okay, that's helpful. And with where, I guess this goes to Dan's question, I'm just, resources in the city are obviously limited financially. I know it's a priority of people in Olivenhain to have a new station. Would there be an ability, if it's in a different area and it's properly staffed, that it would take on more geographic region to take on more calls? Or is it going to, just based on geographics, continue to be somewhere? Obviously, Olivenhain is a lot less dense than other areas of Encinitas. And so I'm just trying to figure out how are we best utilizing the resources we have, financial within Encinitas, to make sure that the needs of Olivenhain are being met, but again, to see 114 calls and the average per year is around 400 to 500 versus if we're halfway through the year and it's, probably 1,200 at other stations, how are we best allocating our resources, I guess is my question. And if we're able to find another location and could fully staff that, will they be able to take on more calls just based on geographics?
I think based on geographics and having the right apparatus that can respond to structure fires as a full company to Carlsbad and Encinitas and Rancho Santa Fe, you're definitely going to see an increase in that unit, even if we left it alone where it currently sits, because based on those capabilities, it will be automatic aid to our neighbors and have better capabilities. So based on that alone, I think yes, I think the call volume would go up for that unit. I'm not going to say we're going to double it, but it'll go up. And the reason, I think part of the hindrance, it's the geographical location. There's not a lot of call volume, but definitely there is a need for the level of service.
And then one more question with that. Do you think that they would be able to respond to more medical aids? Because if you go back to, I think it's the first or second, obviously medical aids are our largest incidents.
Yes.
And so if there's 303 fire incidents, but we're having, my math isn't my strong point, but basically 90% more medical incidents, will they be able to take on more of that medical incidents? And this is me also having awareness that when it comes to fire, Olivenhain is obviously the highest risk area where we want to make sure that we have preventive measures in place. But again, I'm just, if I'm going to make recommendations going forward for, a fire station and resources going there, I want to have all of this information that they'll be able to also take on more of the medical aids there.
So as far as the city of Encinitas, there's no hindrance on this unit for responding to medical aids.
Okay.
So there's no restrictions on it for that purpose.
Okay. So they can they have I guess it would be a paramedic and a.
Exactly.
Is it
Currently,
captain
it's staffed with a firefighter paramedic, and most of our captains in our department, except for one, are firefighter paramedic captains, and they have all the capabilities and capacities of our Type 1, which is our regular fire engines, to respond medical aids. So
It's more of a geographic issue that they're just not having that many calls in that area.
I would say so.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your reports.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Just going to do kind of a gut check, the way life goes. You make plans and other things happen, right? I was imagining a lengthy discussion over our work plan, which we're about to get into. Just want to set a couple expectations as I've done some thinking about the way I'd like this thing to run, right? And so first and foremost, I love where we're at, and I would describe it that we're in a space where all ideas are welcome here. If there is any judgment that's going to go on, I'd like it to be judgment on our good ideas, not our bad ideas, with an appreciation that sometimes we got to get through the bad ideas before we can get to the good ideas. I really appreciate that. Next, we got 2 meetings. We got 2 meetings until our chief deliverables due, and that's a finalized report going to the city council. With that in mind, we also have sort of a double, 2 things going on. Not only do we have to finalize and make a report to the commission for the 2024, it'd be great to have a work plan of 2025 developed a little bit quicker than we were able to develop it for 2024. There are obviously reasons why it was that, but in our thinking going forward for the next 6 months, just an eyesight to not only are we going to have this report, but we also want to recognize, especially from the comments from our citizen, Mr. Lee, we got a tenure of 3 to 4 years, right? And so the 2025 is our second chance to look at a work plan, take the lesson learned, we've taken some knocks about, I think how we'd like to improve the 2025. So with that being said, I think we're ready to move on to the work plan, a robust discussion. And then I've also been made aware it's, I don't know the best way to say this, expectation policy, but I will let the commission know that if we get to the 2-hour mark, which is 6 o'clock for where we're at, I'll entertain motions to continue the meeting. Otherwise, we'll just, the meeting will end at 6 o'clock. All right? Cool. Let's move on to the work plan, please. And I will open it up. Has everybody got the work plan in front of them? Able to figure that out? Let's see. So first and foremost, I anticipate a robust discussion about number one, where we have attend city-sponsored events and raise awareness of Public Health and Safety Commission. Serve as a city ambassador by welcoming, meeting, and greeting the public. Serve in a volunteer capacity, conducting various event and duties as needed. I'll open it for any discussion about that stated goal and outcomes that we expect. Boy, I gotta look at the speakers now, too. I see, nope. Thank you as I navigate what I'm doing here. I'm not seeing anybody wanting to speak. I see an attempt by Vice Chair to speak on a previous motion. There we go. Vice Chair Dominguez.
Okay, so I know, Lois, you put together a list of different events, city events, and I'd like to make a motion that we update the work plan to include the development of a list of commissioners to attend each one of these sponsored city events to show our presence there. So that's kind of where I was going. And I think Lois also mentioned that she could get us like name tags and, maybe we could go in like pairs, and attend these events and actually put together a schedule so that we would be, we'd be kind of locked into attending what we can, do what we can on it, yeah.
So you don't need to amend the work plan to put it in the work plan. We can discuss it right now if there's any commissioners that would like to attend any of the events that still exist for 2024. And if you would like, we can add it to the 2025 work plan.
And for the purpose of discussion, I'll also add, we were a little hamstrung by the way we designed our work plan. When we did our work plan, we said city-sponsored events. There are other events that go on inside the city, and so my recommendation when we go to the 2025, we're a little bit more liberal about the types of events that we suggest to council that we want to participate in. But as it is now, and the work plan is, these are the events that are open to us per the approved work plan for us to participate for the rest of the year.
I'd like to volunteer to go to the Dias de los Muertos.
Excellent. I think that's probably the best way for me to go if I need to say it. Yeah, why doesn't everybody just kind of jump in on what you'd like to participate in? We'll fill gaps at my event. I think we see 2 events currently. We got the Dia de los Muertos and the Encinitas Holiday Parade.
And there's Cardiff Dog Days of Summer.
I can do Cardiff
Thank
Dog
you.
Days.
Everybody just jump on in. I think the only thing we're up against is we can't have more than 3 people in attendance. Is that correct?
Yes, you can't not have the majority of the commission. It would be a quorum.
Right. So no more than 3. Go, feel free. What are you in for?
Well, I have a question.
Oh,
So what are the hours of the event, and is the person or people expected to be there the whole time? And what are we doing at the event? We haven't really established what our goals are at the event. Is it to educate people about this commission?
mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean-
So,
It's up for discussion.
so I would imagine we would have to have brochures, some kind of PR materials, a signage. I mean, there's a lot that goes into having a booth or a table you just don't have a table. You have to have something to attract people to the table.
Also, Assistant City Manager Campbell also reminded me that if more people would like to attend an event and it's more than the three, we can also do shifts. So you don't have to stay for the whole event. We can split it between shifts and have more people attend that event.
Can you provide some color around already displays that the city might have at these events that we can leverage? I'm imagining there's, already a city presence for a number of these things.
So depending on the event, we will most likely have a city booth. The commissioners can stay at the booth and talk to the public at that time. Okay. Otherwise, you can use the name tag and walk around and talk to the community members at the event.
Could you show up the work plan again? I think this will help Commissioner Sales, like what our expectation is. But we certainly come. So we're going to be raising awareness of the commission, serve as the city ambassadors by welcoming, meeting, and greeting the public, serving in a volunteer capacity, conducting various event duties as needed. So I think it'd be great to entertain some discussion, as Commissioner Sales said, like, what do we think that looks like amongst us? What does that mean?
Sorry, perhaps just to keep things organized, people can choose the dates first and then we can have that discussion.
Love it.
I'd go one step further and say, because I need to look at soccer schedules and all of these things, and looking at the Sunday summer concert series. That's going to be a lot of events. So I'm saying, I guess, is it possible that we can create like a sign-up sheet?
I agree.
Well, I think we can talk about the Cardiff Dog Days of Summer, and we can talk about the summer concert series. We don't need to necessarily do those muertos, just in the sense of those two need to decide. And if we don't have a full quorum of people, if you can't decide, you can't make it, you're off the hook, right? This is our best effort, and we get a chance next year to do a better job, just to kind of see who can staff it. So if you can staff it, that's great. So let's just sort of move it to the Dog Days of Summer. Anybody? I think we had one person that participate.
I could do an early shift that
Okay.
day,
From sales.
not in the afternoon.
And I'm happy to attend that event as well. So I think we'll have 3 commissioners there in some sort of capacity. And then summer concert series, we got the July and August.
We have dates.
Yeah. If we don't have dates, we don't have dates, and if we don't have names of people, we don't have names. Is that possible that we, as he suggested, we could have a sign-up sheet and then go from there?
Yes, as Parks and Rec creates the dates for the Sunday summer concerts, I can send an email out to the commissioners and see who's interested.
That's a great suggestion, Commissioner Taylor. Thank you.
Lois, the date, it says for Cardiff Dog Days of Summer, it says third Saturday, but the 21st is on a Sunday.
I believe they changed it. So those typically held, they are annual events and they're typically held on those days, but depending on the event, they may change their date.
So we don't know the exact date?
For 2024, it is scheduled for July 21st.
Okay. And what time does that start?
I can look it up right now.
Do we know what events the fire department and the sheriffs are doing their community outreach at? I think it might be nice to piggyback with them.
My understanding is that the events that are listed here right now were sort of hamstrung as it's city-sponsored events.
Are they doing any of them? And for 2025, are they doing different ones?
I guess in that question for our 2025 planning, can representatives from the sheriff's department or the fire department recommend events in 2025 that might be helpful or a possibility for us to meet our work plan?
I wasn't listening to the question. I was looking up the Cardiff Dog Days of Summer.
Maybe,
Well,
I'm just thinking maybe for like efficiency, the sheriff and fire department can report back to that on our next meeting since it's for 2025, if you can look into that.
Yeah, we can do that. We do have a few things already scheduled for 2025, like the Leave Behind Fire Safe Council, barbecue, some little things like that that we can throw on a calendar and give to you guys.
I agree with Marlon that this would be better done with a doodle kind of poll, so people could sign up.
I'm not sure if we can do that. I think that this has to be done officially in here. Otherwise, that's not
It
done.
has to be publicized.
It's hard to,
Lois, would we be able to just respond to you in an email one at a time once we check our schedules and then you can create a calendar?
Yes, I can do that.
Okay, I
And
think
then,
we should probably do that than try to figure it out here.
For Cardiff Dog Days of December, it's Sunday, July 21st, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
So since we've now accomplished on the best we can on the attendance at events, I think we go back to Commissioner Sales' idea where it's discussion on what does our participation look like and some expectations around that. So,
If I could just throw out there, I think it'd just be our presence, right? And just walk around and introduce ourselves to the general public and, engage and get into conversations so that we have a better idea they have a better idea of our existence and we have a better idea getting a pulse from the community on what's important to them and health and public safety.
I would agree. I think for 2024, as we're not rolling out any surveys right now. We're just really trying to make people aware that this commission exists and then getting a pulse of what the community is concerned about, that if there are existing tables that are set up or we have a table set up with the City of Encinitas information, as people come over, we introduce ourselves, we ask them if they know that this commission is in existence and what are their top 3 priorities when it comes to public health and safety. But I would keep it super simple, and as commissioners, we can kind of then create a report back from those events to give at the next meeting.
might be good, sorry. It might be good to have a little survey on the table. I know we can't do a formal survey. Why, you're shaking your head.
I just think that
Shaking
we're
your head.
not going to be having people, like if we're not doing a survey that's going to get a real pulse of the entire city and it's just the people that have a dog that go to Cardiff, or it's just people that, I don't think that it's going to give an accurate representation. And again, that's a whole other process for us to create a survey with questions. I personally think for 2024, like our work is really just starting, and I appreciate Commissioner Lee sharing, like, this is more of a marathon that we have 3 to 4 years to work on, and so let's lay the foundation and keep it simple. That's just my thoughts for 2024.
I wasn't thinking a formal survey, actually. Sticky notes would work. I mean, you just have something for people to write their ideas down on.
I'd recommend that it might look something like this. You're going to have engagement with the public. You're going to have specific conversations, and you might come with a analytical approach where you have systematic questions that you ask people that you engage, and you're able to bring that back, right? Because as a scientist, it is nice to have an organizational structure. But I think we come into hiccups and hurdles and struggles when we start formalizing and surveys and accountability and stuff like that. So I really applaud what you're going with it. I love the analytical approach. Thank you. I hope you find that
Being
helpful.
that analytical.
I hope you find that
I
helpful.
was really being more informal. I think you all took me, you misunderstood what I was getting at,
Okay.
which was just having a mechanism of having people give feedback, excuse me, or information, which would be, you could do it on sticky notes, on a board. That's very popular right now. In fact, that's what we did in the Equity Committee. We did a lot of work with sticky notes on white sheets, and whoever was there at the time, I don't know if the staff was there. But that worked very well, I think, for people to just put down their opinions and thoughts.
So that's like a communication tool.
Yeah, it's a
is
communication.
what I
book.
was.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
I didn't mean
Yeah.
formal, so.
Yeah, like as I've seen, like this is what people we've talked to are thinking about.
Yeah.
Right, and just kind of, you feel pretty good about that?
I
Any-
feel good about that.
any
Yeah,
other
that's what I was
commissioners?
sort of getting at is just a mechanism of people communicating their concerns about what's going on in the community.
Okay. So I think everything fits with the model that we've been talking about, right? We're taking away the idea that we want to have a presence there. We want to be introducing ourselves to the people of the community. We want them at this point just to know that we exist. And then, as I've seen it, I think it fits the model. A chief role that we serve is a communication between the community to the city council. And then we're also knowledgeable citizens, commission members, and we're able to communicate efforts of the council to the citizens that we talk to at all these events, right? Is that a fair, what we're thinking, the expectations? Okay. Feel pretty good about that. Any more discussion about the work plan number 1? Lois, maybe we want to finalize the summary of what we've accomplished here for the first item?
So what I have in my notes is that for the 2025 work plan, the commission is interested in adding more non-city sponsored events. For Dia de los Muertos, I have Commissioner Woods Drake already signed up for it. For Cardiff Dog Days of Summer, I have Commissioner Andrade, Commissioner Sales for an early shift, and Commission Chair Morton has signed up for Cardiff Dog Days of Summer. And for the 2025 calendar, we will work with the sheriffs and fire department to make sure we get their events in the calendar.
And I think we also asked you to put again a sign up for.
The Sunday Summer concerts, yes.
Yep.
Once I figure out the dates for the Sunday Summer concerts, I will reach out to the commission with those exact dates.
And you can sign me up for the holiday parade on December 7th and Dia de los Muertos on November 1st.
Give you a second to catch up there, Lois. You all good?
All good, thank you.
All right, thanks. And so then just following the example that I've seen in the Seniors Commission, I think the goal will be for the 2025 in the outcomes column, we'll just have listed, the events that we plan on attending for the community, so they like to have full awareness of where we're going to go for, so no private things are happening. Next, ready to move on to developing recommendations for communications, including launching a city quarterly newsletter, delivering valuable updates and resources on public safety. I'm seeing Commissioner Taylor.
Yeah, so I think for this one, first off, my question is, does the city currently have like a newsletter or something that goes out? And if so, what's the periodicity of it?
We do have a city weekly newsletter. This has information from all of the departments, and it goes out on a weekly basis. It goes out to our public on Thursday evenings.
Okay. So with that said, I love the idea of us sticking to the letter of our work plan and creating a quarterly page. Since the wheel is already created, I'd say, my suggestion would be quarterly there be a public safety update on there. And I think some of the things that we could add in there are any safety-related content. Specifically, it's fire season, whatever plugs Commissioner Gordon has to share with us to remind, city residents to think about with regards to that, or marine safety, or as we roll into that time of year where, the porch pirates may come out, so different things of that nature. Information that's good for the citizens to know. Any upcoming safety-related updates. Again, it's fire season. Make sure you're doing whatever you need to do to not blow your house up. So things of that nature. I think that would be really good for us to have in that newsletter. And, and I think whatever timely things come up, we don't know what big issues are percolating right now because there are no real big ones percolating. But, having that avenue to be able to present something would be great. That's all I got.
What kind of, what do you see what kind of form do you see the newsletter taking?
I'd say if, whatever, well, one, I think everything is pretty much done digitally now. Is that correct? It goes out probably via email, or is there a paper copy that goes out?
We send it out through email. We also
Yeah.
do have annually an annual report by the city, and that also has updates from all of our departments.
Yeah. So I'd say stick with the spirit of digital and also have a social media piece of it as well on, the Instagram and, the Facebook. I learned some of the boomers are still big on Facebook. So, meeting people where they are, getting information in front of people where they are, I think really would help raise awareness that this commission exists, while also giving people helpful tools and information that they can need, that they can use to, remain safe, be vigilant, and aware of what's happening around them.
Any more ideas about number 2?
I like the idea to use what already exists. I'm assuming, Lois, that we would need to compile what we would like to go out in that, correct?
Yes, the commission can provide recommendations on what you would like to see in the weekly newsletter.
Okay. Sorry, it's weekly? Okay.
Weekly, the newsletter goes out weekly, but our piece would be quarterly.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I was like, whoa.
Can you describe the timeline for that? So is it, you need something on Monday so that it goes out on Thursday? What's that look like?
So currently, what I ask from staff is that all of the departments give me their updates by Tuesdays at noon. I have the next 2 days to coordinate with city staff to see if any information needs to be corrected or if I need more missing information. And then that information gets publicized by Thursday, 6 p.m.
Go ahead. We're kind of going free flow on this one, so please
Do we-
let's just have
do
an open
we-
discussion as we can. If you guys get out of hand, I'll be sure to enforce the gavel.
Do we need a committee?
That's kind of where my thinking
to
is
do the
going. We need,
communications?
they're well proposed.
I'm not
I'm what-
cheering, but
I'm wondering what already goes into those newsletters, because I think I'm a subscriber, and I think I remember around Thanksgiving getting one from the sheriff's department telling me that the, thefts by the shopping centers were a big deal, and, be vigilant, locking your things and hiding your purses and such. So I think there's already some of these communications that happen, right?
Yes, we currently do include some communications from the different departments. For example, this week we'll be releasing the Genesis update to the rest of the city through the city weekly newsletter. We've pushed out before the coffee events with the sheriffs, the push-in ceremony for the fire department. So we do put some regular updates from the departments, but if there's any specific information you would like to see, those could be recommendations.
And commissioners, we also do put, like when it comes to the holiday times, about lights on your trees. And as Commissioner Vaughn, during Thanksgiving, if you're going to fry that turkey, make sure it's outside. When it comes to summer, we talk about beach safety, sun safety. So whatever our fire department and sheriff's department does. So we do some regular ones, but obviously we would look to see if the commission had any other recommendations about maybe some topics that they would like to see in the newsletter.
Yeah, no, I think that sounds great, and again, I look at the newsletter as a bit of a kind of a marketing tool to promote the awareness of the Public Health and Safety Commission. So if there are things that are already going out there that are public health and safety related, maybe we create like a public health and safety banner or something that goes within that already existing newsletter, so people kind of get familiar with those words and phrases, and yeah.
Maybe Lois, you can talk about our meeting that we had and the social media feed and getting information into that social media feed. This goes beyond the newsletter, but just, because there's so many things that like the sheriff puts out and the fire department puts out that don't go through the city's social media feed. And Lois created a public safety tab. Maybe you could talk about it.
Yes, so just for overall awareness, the city has several different social media accounts. We have Instagram, Facebook, Nextdoor, X, TikTok, and YouTube, and LinkedIn. So we do manage all of those accounts. For the fire department, we have our own fire department Instagram. And then for the sheriff's department, they have their X profile for North Coastal Sheriff Station. So when it's specific public safety updates from those departments, you can go to those profiles to see those specific public safety updates. The city social media accounts take updates from all of the departments. So it's not only public safety, it has the parks information, sustainability, all of the proclamations done at city council. So we do try to balance out the information with all of the departments. Commission Vice Chair Dominguez did bring up to me that he would like to see more of the sheriff's updates on the city Instagram channel. Now you can see a public safety update stories. So all of the stories that the sheriff shares with us that relate to the city of Encinitas, we have that on that tab as well now.
And I'm going to call our attention to the actual work plan that we have right now, just in the sense that it says develop recommendations. So like the devil's in the detail for what we're trying to accomplish here in 2024, right? So I think our discussion around like how we would actually implement it, you know, what it would look like are really relevant, right? In what we're trying to accomplish here with that forward vision of what it's going to look like when we're fully implemented. So I'm imagining if it's a quarterly, you know, there's a commissioner, there's some sort of agreement, there's some sort of assignment where it's our turn, you know, whatever that looks like, whether it's a shared responsibility, you know, 2 people take it on per quarter and then the other 2 people take it on per quarter, or do we actually wind up just developing a cadence where these are the kind of things we recommend at this time of year, or it's an update on, you know, this is what the commission's been working on in the last quarter and how that looks like. So that's just sort of throwing stuff out there, right? So really just popcorn any ideas that kind of come off that. Sure.
It's hard for me to distinguish how what we would write is different than what the sheriff and the fire department is writing. Because they're already contributing a lot of information based on what you're saying, Lois. So how is what we contribute going to be different? We don't want to be repetitive. And we don't want to take away their thunder. I mean, if there's an issue that's specifically focused, like quarterly on public health and public safety, maybe we could do interviews or something with the chiefs or whoever it is, or lifeguard safety, do an interview with lifeguards, or but I want to make sure we're not just duplicating what they're doing. That doesn't make any sense.
Value added, I think, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I would suggest some topics that might make their way into the newsletter, if we could encourage staff to do so, would be homeless services and where to turn, and if you see somebody, how do you respond to it? Mental health resources, you know, any of those other sort of hot topics for us are probably underrepresented in the communications as they are now.
You said, I heard 3 things in there. What are the homeless services available? How to engage the homeless when you see them, and you had a third. What was that as well?
I was teeing up mental health for the mental health ad hoc subcommittee members.
Okay.
And I would add crime prevention, maybe something having to do with crime prevention.
Non-redundant. Make it non-redundant.
I don't understand what you're saying.
So what we're hearing is that the sheriff already does things in that vein for crime prevention, and they're already available. So in an effort to
Does homeless outreach have that same Nothing? No agency out there that puts out information?
Not as it's related to the sheriff and the fire, like they have their own, thing that's out there. So I'm not discouraging what you're saying. I'm just asking if you can help, define it a little bit better so that it is not aligned with what's already being.
Well, maybe
available.
give some attention to the fact that we do have a crime prevention unit within the sheriff's department that can do things like, help me there, Lieutenant, where they come out and do survey.
A safety consultation, crime.
Right, they do
crime
it for
prevention
businesses, they
consultation.
do it for homes. We were talking earlier about porch pirates. If you want to do something like that as we get close to the holidays, that's related to, keeping people's packages from getting ripped off. There's so much like that can be included.
Our senior volunteers also do vacation checks for people who are away.
Oh, highlight a piece on what our senior volunteers do.
Right.
Yeah, I'd say another thing that we could add is, we created one, under Encinitas for Equality, but a who to call list. That way people can have a quick reference guide on who to call. That way we can promote things like the PERT and the MCRT so people aren't just inundating the sheriff's department with calls that would be probably better served and better handled by, agencies and people that are more qualified to handle those situations.
Could add the blue envelope program, those sorts of things.
Commissioner Andrade, did you want to get in here on that?
Yeah, or something that we have that like a 211 program, where it has the list of you can call and say what your problem is, whatever, if it's housing or, suicide prevention or, whatever, crime stuff, whatever that is, and it can kind of have those resources available. I don't know, something quick and easy like 911 for people to remember might be helpful.
Something like graffiti. There's graffiti in the city. Who do you call? How do you get that? How do you get that resolved?
Okay, so I heard a whole popcorn of ideas, Lois. I have a list. We can compare notes. I'll let you run through. And then my thought would be, once we have the list, we could do, in the interim between we meet, any of those things that the city might feel are redundant or not necessarily value added, and give us some feedback on that. And then we can kind of further the discussion on what it might look like. Does that sound good? Sound good? Okay. Go ahead, Lois. And anybody else that may have a list that she's got. What do you got as our topics? I have 7 written down. So what do you got?
I'll probably re-listen to the meeting recording after the meeting.
That's fine.
Currently, I have tips, upcoming safety information, homeless resources, how to engage the homeless, mental health information for homeless resources, crime prevention unit within the sheriff's department, senior volunteers work, who to call list, blue envelope program, 211, and graffiti.
I would just add I think his clarification I got was like the crime prevention services that are available. So that was the one right before the senior volunteers, I think is how he phrased that, so.
And, I might also add that you guys might be thinking about something that, you're the professionals, right? You guys might be thinking of something that might go in there that you might want more attention to in terms of public health and safety.
Or is that an opening question to them?
Yeah,
or a
it pretty much is. I'm kind of putting them on the spot a little
If you'd
bit.
like to
but
respond, we have a few moments, but yeah.
I think one thing we have to remember too is we have the My Encinitas app. So graffiti has already got a place there. So if you go on the My Encinitas app, you can hit graffiti and you can.
Yeah, my idea was just to get that information out to people, because you and I know it's there,
Yeah.
right? And all of us probably know it's there, but
We
that
can definitely
newsletter might.
plug in that. I don't know if graffiti is on the public health and safety side for us, maybe for the sheriffs. But I think, anything wildfire related, we have CPR or first on the scene classes that we've been publicizing. So we can roll all of this stuff into a quarterly newsletter, continue to do what we're doing with the city on our weekly newsletters, and then as we roll those out and you guys see something that's not on the list, I think you guys can also throw those out there again for us to see, because we do have a lot of content, I think, going into this stuff. A lot of stuff that you guys have already talked about is already there. Now we just have to make sure that people are looking at it, right? So maybe our focus is going to be casting that wider net so that people can actually look at that newsletter, whether we're plugging it in our CPR classes or while we're out training. We can say, hey, are you signed up for the newsletter, stuff like that. And maybe when you guys are at your events, that you can also plug the newsletter or quarterly newsletter there too. So I'm not saying we don't have any ideas. I think we put a lot of stuff on, like lithium ion battery safety was one of them. We have this.
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah.
That's really
perfect. Thank you.
A nugget that I got that would probably be great, from listening to other commissions, the senior commission, they had a presentation speaker from Scripps emergency room, and she's like, if you remember one thing from this talk, she talked for like 15 minutes, I want you to remember this, right? If you're feeling pains in your chest, don't drive yourself to the hospital. Call 911, because if you call 911, when you show up to the emergency room, you got a team of 10 people to help you, right? And I know so many of our community are just going to drive themselves there. So it may just be a summary of things that we've heard in other commission reports in the past quarter that we like to pass on for there, is something that sits there. So I think we kind of beat that to where we're at. If you're saying, I'd like to move on to the ad hoc committees. I did have a chance to talk to everybody individually. We got 10 minutes here. I'm going to take the liberty of talking about the homeless ad hoc committee first here. So I'll turn it over to Dan, Commissioner Vaughn, to report back on our efforts with the homeless ad hoc in the last month.
Yeah, so we had 2 meetings that were more, that involved more than just the 2 of us talking on the phone. The first was one that Lois had set up for us with the city staff, Stephen Gonzalez and Patty Anders, who sort of oversee the homeless response. It was a good, engaged meeting. People had lots to say, and we went well over time and had to get kicked out of the room. One of the updates that we got some encouraging back and forth on was the Buena Vista Navigation Center. Another was that there's almost $200,000 set aside for what we call diversion expenses. So this is help for one-time help for folks experiencing homelessness. It could be things like first or last month's rent when they're moving in. Could be things like family reunification, transportation to get back to their family. The other thing we heard about was Section 8 housing program has had an increase in funds and an attempt to prioritize those resources towards people experiencing homelessness. And then staff had obtained approval for a new homeless prevention coordinator position. At the time, they were seeking to fill that, and it's subsequently been filled, so that's great. And then there was the staff was also very encouraged. They'd met with the Regional Task Force on Homelessness and gotten direction on how to be part of the HMIS system, Clarity we call it. This is a homelessness management information system. It's a pretty extensive system that deals countywide in San Diego with folks experiencing homelessness, and all of the organizations that are part of the Trust Network that exchange information about these clients or guests in our case. And so St. Andrews is one of those, and I've been part of that system for a couple of years now. We talked a little bit about some of the clients going into the Buena Vista Navigation Center, and the common challenges that a lot of these folks have when they come in is medical issues that are pretty prevalent, mental health issues, substance abuse issues, and we weren't able to get very far in that discussion before Lois informed me that I couldn't talk about mental health issues because that's a different subcommittee. So at some point, we're going to have to figure out a way where we can talk about what to do with the overlap between the 90% of homeless people who have mental health conditions or substance use issues, and but we haven't done that yet. So that was one meeting. We've asked. I don't know that we've asked formally to schedule a next to follow, but the idea was to have another meeting of this kind. We'd like to really move forward to speaking about folks experiencing homelessness by name, being able to talk about the challenges that we see individual by individual, folks that are going through the navigation center, also people that are turning it down and why, et cetera. The second meeting that we had was on site at St. Andrews on a Saturday morning for the outreach programs there. Had about 55 folks experiencing homelessness on site. St. Andrews offers a host of programs every Saturday morning, showers, hot showers, clothing giveaway. There's a woman who gives haircuts probably 48 weekends a year, and they do a hot meal program. They do coffee and pastries and fresh fruit before the hot breakfast. There's a mail service. We were there the second Saturday of the month, so the county's Office of Homeless Solutions was on site. They brought a social worker and an enrollment specialist. And so this is something that I'm pretty active in, but for James it was sort of a first visit. So maybe I'd invite you to just give any color of what that meant to you.
If you're done talking.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, happy to. Lois, would it be possible for you to provide the thank you letter, the follow-up letter that Dan and I drafted to the ad hoc to the rest of the commissioners after the meeting? I don't know if we actually made that available. It's a nice summary of what we did.
Yes, I can provide it to the rest of the commission after the meeting.
Yeah, it was great, and it was a wonderful. I mean, they know who Dan is, but the city staff's trying to figure out like who we are, an ad hoc. So it was a wonderful bridge meeting, getting to know them, and I encourage the other ad hocs if they haven't had that. We found the city, with persistence, is responsive to meeting with them, and so I hope that's been your similar experience. I would say we are looking for a challenge to our initial idea that the less than zero.
Built for Zero?
The Built for Zero program identification provides a great framework for which we could make recommendations to City Council. Like, I think that's fair to say that's kind of our position. Dan's very knowledgeable about it. I've read it. It seems to make sense. Even city staff is aligned with the key element to it, which is identify the people by name, get a list, engage with them one by one in a consistent manner over time, recognizing that you're trying to change behavior and that every person's bottom motivation from changing is different. And, as I've own experience in my own life, your life can change with a phone call, and I'm sure our safety professionals as well can recognize dealing with people on the street, and all of a sudden, you've been dealing with the same person for years, and all of a sudden, like, they've changed, and you're just like, what happens, So it's an effort of persistence over time, and it's just going to take time. I encourage you all to go visit what's going on at St. Andrews if you haven't done it. It left me with the feeling that I've done nothing in my life and that there's a lot more to do. So be prepared for that. If you have that, go with a strong moral compass, or if I don't know that's the right term, but just come with a, go when you're feeling good, because it really puts, we have a great country, we have a great society, we have a great system of capitalism, but it's not perfect. And there's people that are falling through the cracks, and so they need change, and so I was very welcome with that. So, but that's preaching to the choir for this. I would say, as Dan mentioned, I think our follow-up letter was a little more proactive. While we don't have a firm date, we did task Lois with finding us a next time to meet with the city, and they are also on point to come as a presentation next time, right? So in September, the city staff that support homelessness will come to present their efforts to what it's doing, and they're committed to doing that. So I think that's everything that I want to say about that. And then the chance that I missed something, and Dan, you've come up with another thing that you want to talk about as it relates to the ad hoc and homelessness before I move on. Feel good? Yeah?
Unless the other commissioners have.
Oh, yeah, okay. We're open. All right. We're coming up on 6 o'clock, right? We're here 2 hours. I'm aware that the other ad hocs may not have a particularly robust report to give. Okay. How long do you think a robust report from you?
Not more than 5 minutes.
So 5 minutes. So perhaps I'll just ask that we hear the 5 minutes and then open for motions to continue on the meeting beyond the 2 hours. And in lieu of that, we'll probably move to adjourn if that doesn't happen. So let us hear from the Mental Health and Wellness Ad Hoc.
Okay, thank you. So just a couple of things I reviewed. Molly and I have been trying to work on, we've been consulting with each other. But one thing I did find out is neither the Senior Commission nor the Youth Commission had any specific focus in their work plan on behavioral health, which surprised me greatly. The only thing I saw in the Youth Commission was some kind of martial arts that they were focusing on that was good for, I'm sure it's good for people's mental health. But neither had any specific focus, which is a concern. And I'm not exactly sure how we communicate with them about that. I asked Lois about, was I able to speak to the commissioner, the chairs, and I guess that's not permitted. So we may go and do a presentation there at some point to educate them about what we're doing, or invite them to come and present to us on whether they need any kind of direction on behavioral health that they want to include. But I was a little surprised, I have to say, about that. So one thing Molly and I talked about was reaching out to the high school district, the middle school and high school district, about their behavioral health programs. Molly connected me with Brian Marcus, who's the assistant superintendent in charge of educational services, which encompasses behavioral health and what they're doing. And unfortunately, Molly was not able to attend the meeting, but I met with Dr. Marcus, and I'd like to just report on what he said and how we would love for him to come and present to us, and he would like to do that. So we talked about, my first way of describing is what can the city do to support the school district in dealing with the behavioral health issues? And he said he would like to be in partnership with the city as a united front. So, if the school district is concerned about specific issues, whether it's fentanyl in the schools, whether it's behavioral health, suicide, whatever it is, he would like the city and the school district to work together on communicating to the community about what can be helpful. So that was the first thing we talked about. And he included in that e-bike safety, for example, because they're dealing with it at the school district. and the sheriff's department, and the fire department has to pick up the pieces if somebody gets hurt. I mean, there's a lot of people involved in that. So that was one of the issues. But we talked a lot about, for example, one of the programs he thought would be really great was having QR code for behavioral health support at the beaches, on the lifeguard stands, any place in the parks, so that a student who might be in trouble, might need somebody to talk to, could just go up and scan a code, get a list of support, resources in the community. So I thought that was a really great idea. And also, designating the lifeguards, for example, as safe adults they could go to if they were maybe experiencing bullying at the beach, which I'm sure happens, or, having a behavioral health crisis at the beach. So having a place, knowing there are trusted adults in the community that they could reach out to. And since my thought was, since a lot of the lifeguards or young adults, they're in their 20s and 30s, that's an excellent thing to do because, kids would see them as approachable and as safe adults to speak to. The use of social media to educate about behavioral health resources, using those cities' newsletter and other means in the community to let families know what's going on and how they can get support when they need it. We also talked about, there's a program called, and I've mentioned this before, Screening to Care through County Behavioral Health Services, which the purpose of that is school districts have to approve of it. It's not, County Behavioral Health Services cannot go into a school district without board approval. But the program is to actually screen 7th graders and for behavioral health issues, and then recommend resources in the community. And San Diego has not adopted that. There are other school districts, large school districts in the county that have, but San Diego has not, and his main concern is there aren't sufficient resources, like referral sources, if the Screening to Care clinician found some, that in talking with a kid, they found out the kid needs a psychiatrist or he needs to see a counselor. Are there sufficient people in the community who can provide that service? So that's some of his concern, is what is the continuity of that program? What happens next? And so he's very interested in it and really didn't know too much about it. So one of the other ideas, and I proposed to him, is that we invite here a representative of youth services at the County Behavioral Health Services to come and talk about it. And Molly and I talked about how this would be a great thing to publicize to the community and invite families to come, invite students to come, so they could hear what kind of programs there are from youth, the youth services. We also talked about the MCRT, the Mobile Crisis Response Team, and I know from being on the Behavioral Health Advisory Board that there is actually I don't know even call it, but a proposal to go to allow the MCRT to come onto campuses. And that requires, I think, a lot of licensing issues. So that's being considered. It's not happening yet. But I know that would, I think, instead of a PERT clinician going out with a police officer, it's a lot less threatening to have a team of clinicians go out, as long as there wasn't a weapon or anything, but to go out and be able to talk to a kid confidentially and de-escalate them, which is a lot of what has to happen. So that's something that would be really helpful. We talked about the fact that the Encinitas Union School District has wellness centers. Brian Marcus brought this up. And mobile health units, including food pantries, clothing, backpacks, and concierge services. So that would be something I thought, and Molly and I discussed, is that something that the city would be willing to consider partnering with the school district, or maybe helping to fund a mobile van? And I know those are very expensive and all that, but it's a lot to consider on that. I'm almost done.
Okay.
And then that could overlap with the safe parking program, especially a mobile van that can move around to different school sites. Could be at the safe parking program right here by Oak Crest and would serve that whole population, not just kids, but people in the community, the homeless folks, seniors. So it would be I thought a really cool thing. And then the last thing he would love to come and present here.
Excellent.
About what's going on. So I'd like to schedule that. Probably be a good idea to get that on the calendar.
It would.
And that's it, but anybody have any questions?
Jerry, just wanted to flag one more thing that is separate from this meeting, but as we're, don't have that many meetings, I want to flag it as a potential recommendation as well. May is Mental Health Month, and I don't believe the city currently does anything. You were talking about proclamations. I think that's a great time for us to recommend that the city do proclamation around people that are doing incredible work in the community around mental health, but also that we work towards, if not in 2025, in 2026, making sure that there's a mental health, behavioral health fair that actually happens in the city of Encinitas in the month of May. And this can be, it's like recovery, community, mental health, suicide, a bunch of resources. Really, I think one of the main components that we want to address is stigma around mental health and addiction, and not just, I think it's preventative for our youth, but I think it's also great to, help our community members that might have that sort of shame that comes with the mental health and addiction struggles. And so to be able to promote something like that in the city and celebrate it, I think would be a great recommendation to discuss as well. So I just wanted to get that on the record.
So that's like a mental health and wellness day?
Yeah,
afternoon?
I believe this year there was the first wellness festival held at the senior center. I actually went to it, but it was more focused on here's a chiropractor, here's these sorts of things. I think this is really focused on the mental health aspect and resources around that, as well as changing stigma. So having some speakers and people that are, have gone through those sorts of things coming out and speaking.
Excellent. Around this mental health in the schools, I've done some of my own cursory investigation around suicide prevention and found the resources that are available at the school level are really great and available. It's up on them to identify it. We had a death by suicide in our community in the last 3 months from a 16-year-old young man. It is a serious thing. I personally affected, just in the sense of I don't know how my son's outcome was different than Anthony's. So thank you for all the effort that goes. And that's actually a chance for just a shout out to just the safety and the fire. I just saw amazing coordination personally, like the helicopter finding and all that stuff that you guys do to help protect our kids is just really, really amazing. And we go, thank you very much. We're at 6:10. I'll entertain motions to keep going.
Yeah, I'd like to extend at least to 6:30.
I have a hard stop at 6:30, so I can extend to 6:30, but need to be done at 6:30.
I don't think you need to do a motion. You can just have a commission consensus to continue.
Excellent. I'm looking for a consensus to go till 6:30 without a bathroom break.
I need to go at 6:20.
I hear 6:20.
We have an agenda to finish, so.
Okay. I have items to discuss that I'd like to get through as well, so 6:20.
Interesting enough, this dovetails into what I'm thinking, and that's, we need more meetings.
Yep.
We cannot, it just,
I will recommend in just that, I've had discussions on point with several commissioners. I don't think there's going to be any difficult finding a quorum for the 2025 meeting more frequently than we're currently doing. So in interest of time of moving us along, thank you for that.
Yeah.
The next thing on our agenda would be the resource readiness. We got 10 minutes. Do you feel like it's an adequate use? You have things to talk about with that?
I think we're still in process. I think I'd like to pass, and we can get back with a report next meeting.
I concur.
I'll just add for your consideration, I'm very interested in gun violence and efforts that the city is, or our services are doing to limit the number of guns that are available to our community. So thank you very much on that. Next on our agenda is, if I'm correct, we're on special projects down to number 9. Do we have anything related to May we approved?
Commissioner Vaughn, if you'd like to ask your question about the letter at this time.
No, I think I'd rather use my 2 minutes for a special meeting.
Okay. Next on the agenda is a discussion around the Identifying Emergent Opportunities Group. Commissioner Andrade, that was put forward by you, and at the time we were finalizing the work plan, I think you had a conflict. You weren't able to attend. So would you be able to provide some sort of color on what you're thinking that looks like and what that means?
Certainly, I think emerging opportunities groups, regarding special projects, just kind of the things that we're coming up with here. I know, you speak about gun violence. We've talked about, suicide, prevention. It's kind of like a catch-all a little bit, and as well as, things that we can do to support police and fire. Just kind of moving forward was kind of the idea behind that.
Any other discussion about the deliverable for that, what that would look like for people? Because I'm kind of at a loss myself.
I think we're just going to have to wait for an opportunity to emerge.
Okay.
To this point, there hasn't been.
Yeah. We did receive comments back from City Council about our work plan and its strengths and its weaknesses. Vagueness in our work plan was one of the weaknesses. So I think as we move to 2025, we'll be looking to sort of tighten up where we can and where that looks. Lois, I'm going to need some help here. I thought we were going to have a discussion about the presentations, and I'm not seeing where in the work plan that's happening.
That's during the future agenda items.
Oh, number 12?
Yes.
Okay, so we're still in the work plan section?
Correct.
Of where we're at. Okay, thank you. I don't think we're in anything with the work plan here, right? Other than just to put it on our minds. We proposed number 11, so I think we're good, that's done. We need to be working, perhaps just a discussion, right? So we have 2 meetings left. Is it reasonable that we have a draft? And I think this is going to lean into Commissioner Vaughn's in the last 5 minutes, what you're thinking about. We have 2 meetings left to get our work plan out, recommendations. Let's have a conversation about our paths to getting that done. I see Commissioner Taylor has...
Yeah, I'd say along with that, the calendar moves very quickly. We are already in July. So I'd say if we could start working on at least a template and a template of what this thing will look like, and then we can start kind of populating it so that it's not a sprint when everybody's going to be gone in November and December timeframe.
Right, to that end, I mean, in a normal cadence, if it works, we're going to have a draft finalized in our meeting in September, and then we're going to be voting on that draft in December. That's what our current work plan looks like in an organized session. So unless we come up with something different, that's what we're looking at. I'll turn the Commissioner Vaughn, did you have?
Are we on future agenda items, et cetera?
I think this is a great time for the motion that you were presenting. You said you wanted to talk about a few moments ago.
Yeah, so since we can't talk about mental health and homelessness as an overlap, I'm proposing that we have a special session, more of a work plan than a highly agendized agenda, but focused on both mental health and homelessness.
Would you be open to a friendly amendment that would say a special session to discuss the draft proposal for our work plan, which would be all-encompassing of the things that you just mentioned? Or do you feel the need to actually make it specific to that?
Are we allowed to do both in the same meeting?
I think if we make it umbrella, right, and we go through the work plan and we're there, then we're basically getting 2 hours. But if you think it would warrant a specific discussion in the development, right, and that's the only thing you want to talk about, then I think that's there. So I think we're trying to frame like what we're going to be talking about. So if we go with the broadest sense, right?
So
it'd be better.
I'm open to whatever makes the most sense. What I would like to not see is this Excel spreadsheet driving our conversation. I really think that we need to have some real conversations about ideas and you know, what I would really like to see, for example, is when we bring people into Buena Creek, we systematically set them up with medical screening, mental health screening, substance abuse resources.
So then I think we should keep your motion as it stands. It would be a specific special session for discussion to talk about the integration between our two ad hocs, which are the homelessness and mental health and wellness, as it stands.
I was going to make a recommendation to just do a special meeting about the ad hocs because I do think that resource readiness and what our fire and sheriff need is going to be pertinent to that conversation. So my recommendation would be to have a special meeting that is focused solely on the ad hoc section of the work plan.
Do I hear a second?
Jackie, I might be wrong. Special meetings have to be more specific. Like, if you want to work on resource readiness, then we can work on it, but we can't just say all three ad hocs can give updates, because otherwise that's the work plan update, and that's a regular meeting.
So then if we just take out the resource readiness and it's the other two, is that okay?
If it's the integration conversation, then yes, we can have a special meeting. But if it's just to work on updates for all ad hocs, then that wouldn't be a special meeting.
Okay, then just the integration of the two.
Go ahead.
Are you, I'm a little unclear, are you suggesting we all meet or just the ad hocs meet together?
We all meet.
It needs to be a formally noticed meeting. I would suggest that everybody be invited to participate. If we have a quorum of folks that are passionate about it and other folks that don't want to participate, I'm fine with that.
So we have a hard stop at 6:20. I'm going to hold us to that. What I am going to do in the meantime is just for Commissioner Vaughn's, the motion is going through as you suggested, which in your experience with city governor and council doesn't happen often. You're getting exactly what
Then
you...
I second Dan's motion.
So I would like you to notice that.
Noted.
As a beacon of hope. Okay. Can we move to vote on that?
Just to confirm, the motion is to hold a special meeting to discuss the two ad hoc.
Homelessness and
Integrating.
Integration
No,
of the two ad hoc
I didn't use
committees.
the word integration. Mental health and homelessness.
The integration of...
No, the VEN that includes both. It should be behavioral health and homelessness.
Okay, and you are doing the motion, and Molly, you seconded, correct?
Does it need to be the integration, Lois?
It needs to be the integration.
Thank you. So it would be the integration between mental health, behavioral health, and homelessness.
Yes, you can't just talk about the two separate topics. You have to talk about the integration.
So integration has a specific meaning. We can talk about things, the overlap, right?
That's integration.
All right.
We call it the nexus.
Yep.
Between the two.
Well, if Dan is agreeing to that motion, then he would need to call it as integration, and then we need a second.
Is overlap okay?
It's your motion. You can choose
Oh,
whatever
overlap.
words you want.
I second that.
Want to vote?
Let the record show that the motion passed unanimously.
All right, that concludes our discussion on the work plan. I'm going to rush to adjourn the meeting. I am just going to say that I was hoping to get into a discussion about the presentation that was recommended from the engineering department regarding the Leucadia drainage. In the interim, I recommend the commission look at the February 14th council meeting where the department made a presentation about what's going on. It's very thorough. It was a long discussion. And then there may not necessarily be a need for that presentation. So just when you come back to that, it would just be kind of, your information might already be there and the council might already be aware. Thank you very much for your time. Meeting adjourned.